Hey YouTube, Motor Racing Network, Steve Post here. Really neat edition today of our Diecast Review Show. We're not going to review Diecast because we're going to talk to a racer. And we've got Brian Day from down in Alabama. And Brian runs the Plan B sales car in iRacing. And this is something that is just really neat about our sport, getting the chance to race against your buddies and friends. So, Brian, first off, welcome to Plan B Sales. Good to have you here.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Let's talk a little bit about iRacing. I know very little about it. I know some of our followers here, they might know a lot about it, but just tell us about iRacing in general.
Well, iRacing, for me personally, is a great avenue to experience racing from a competition standpoint. I work a job in Huntsville, Alabama. It's a good job, but I can't really afford to go out and race every week. So iRacing is very cheap. Anybody can do it. It just takes a good computer and a steering wheel and whatnot. And you can go in there and compete. So it's a great avenue for somebody like myself that really can't afford to go out and race every weekend. And there's so much we can talk about. We probably couldn't fit it all in this whole show, but it's a wonderful aspect that people can just go out and do. It's awesome.
So you guys, we were chatting before this, and you talked about your race at Texas, you talked about your race at Daytona. Mm-hmm. You guys run the full NASCAR schedule? Is that how it works? Or how does it work as far as races goes?
Well, we actually run a 17-week schedule. We race every other 2 weeks, and we try to race every NASCAR Sprint Cup Series track. Unfortunately, with the new bill that came out yesterday, we didn't get to run Richmond. The race got canceled. But we try to run every track. We don't get to run Infineon or Sears Point, whatever it's called now, I can't remember. We get to run Texas, we get to run Daytona, we get to run Charlotte, Dover, Darlington. Some wonderful tracks are on the schedule. They're a lot of fun to drive. So I'm hoping one day we can actually get to a point where we can run 36 races, but that's a little time consuming for some of us.
So yeah, exactly. It's consuming for all of us in the sport and doing it at any level. So I guess next question is, how's it going? How's your season been?
It's going pretty well. We just had a string of bad luck. We've run really well. Our cars have been fast every week. But we just can't seem to get the good luck and good finishes we deserve. Of course, I guess everybody can say that, but I really feel we've been a top 10 contender every week. We were even contending for a win at Texas, and we just have some bad luck. So it'll turn around eventually, though, I hope.
Okay, so now we've got this car, and all of a sudden you reach out to us here at Plan B, and it ends up with the Plan B sales car. How did this come together? How did you decide to put this whole deal together with us here at Plan B?
Well, my initial thought was, iRacing is a big community. It's a community of over 50,000 people. So I'm thinking there's got to be some diecast collectors in here somewhere.
Yeah.
So I reached out to Brent and said, hey, this is what we got. These races are broadcast. You get your logo out there, your name, and I'm sure this is a great market for Plan B sales. So I'm sure there are a lot of people that collect diecast or buy NASCAR there and things like that. Immediately Brent was just like, yeah, this is a great idea. Let's do it.
Cool.
So he was actually the first person I contacted too as far as sponsorship. So
wow.
A lot less work for me.
A lot of race teams probably wish they had those odds when searching for sponsorships for that. And one of the things we want to just kind of mention, and I know there's a lot of iRacing fans that are going to tune into this edition, we are putting together a contest to design a graphic for the opening of our Diecast Review Shows. And it's going to be for the iRacing community only to design this. And we're still putting the details together on what the winning package is going to be, but it is going to be sweet. So all of you iRacers that do it and are part of the community, be thinking about how you would graphically design a show opening for the Diecast Review. We'll pick one out, and you'll win a great diecast package. And we'll have details about that here over the course of the next few weeks. One of the things I find real interesting, we're talking to Brian Day here, one of our iRacing guys and our Plan B sales driver. One of the things I find interesting is that the NASCAR drivers, we chatted, Brad Keselowski, you've raced against him, Martin Truex Jr., Dale Earnhardt Jr. This has been really neat for the iRacing community because a lot of our Cup drivers are racing or are active in different ways in iRacing.
Yeah, you don't see them a lot on there for obvious reasons. They have a busy schedule. Yeah. I think Dale got out of it simply because it was kind of hurting his real life stuff as far as racing goes. But it's neat when you come into a server and you see Kyle Larson, you see Brad Keselowski, you see TJ Majors, Dale Jr. spotted. You see those guys, you think, wow, I'm getting to race against these guys. This is cool. because I would never get to do that on a real racetrack.
Yeah.
That takes a little bit of money. So, but it's just so cool to get on there and race with these guys, and they'll talk to you, and they talk to you just like they're your friends. So it's a really neat deal.
Really is. I was doing a hospitality event a couple of weeks ago up at Martinsville, Virginia with Carl Edwards. And Carl, notoriously not what I consider an iRacing guy, not necessarily. We don't know what Carl does as far as his racing goes. He lives in Missouri, he minds his own business, and I respect that. He raises his family. But one of the things Carl said, and it kind of struck home with you, is we had a fan ask about where should my son, where should my daughter start racing? And Carl's sole point with it is race where you can win. So many people jump up and take an iRacing budget and try to run a super late model, and you end up getting frustrated, beat your head against the wall, and end up not winning races. This is where you can afford to race, and you can race competitively. So Carl's words really ring true to you.
Yeah, exactly. It's really hard to win in our series. It's very hard. So you really have to work at it. Be just about it all the time. Of course, I have real life things. I have a job. I have friends I hang out with. So, but still, I'll give you an example. My teammate Nick Ottinger. I've never seen a guy that's more dedicated to doing this. He will take a setup, go run 50 laps, say this car's terrible. He'll come in, make a change, and run another 50 laps just to see how it reacts. It could be one like an air pressure change. That's it. And he will run thousands of laps prior to each event, and he's usually the fastest car on the track.
Yeah.
So he's reaping the benefits of the practice he puts in. I wish I could be as dedicated as him.
Sure.
Because I don't know if I have ADD or what, but I cannot go out and run 50 laps, come in, make a small change, and run another 50 laps. I'll go out and run maybe 10 laps and see how it feels, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So, he's one guy I definitely look up to. He's an awesome guy.
That's just really neat to hear this talk about this and doing it. I had a good run at Daytona. Where'd you finish down at Daytona? Seventh place, top 10 finish at Daytona. Running in the top 5 late at Texas. Had a little bit of a gremlin jump up and bite you, but and I think that's the thing. Going back to Carl's point, race where you can compete, race where you can win races, race where you can race for the wins, and they'll get there. Well, Brian, we appreciate you swinging by and being involved with Plan B Sales. Great spending time with you.
Awesome, thank you, I appreciate it.
That's Brian Day. He is our iRacing guy from the state of Alabama, running the Plan B Sales car on the iRacing League. Now stay with us, everyone. The post show is coming up next. All right, it's time now for the post show here on our Diecast Review Show. What this is us answering your questions, and the questions are right down below here on YouTube. So send in those questions, and who knows, maybe on the next post show we'll get a chance to answer them for you. Also a chance to remind you of a couple things going on. Car a Day continues for the month of April, and that has been just a whole lot of fun over on Facebook. We have given away a lot of diecast cars and a lot of happy winners over there. Also something new here at Plan B Sales. Check out DavidReaganStore.com. That is a new site that we've worked on in partnership with David Reagan, and we are now fulfilling and taking care of DavidReaganStore.com. You can link it from David Reagan's website, or just go to DavidReaganStore.com and do that. And of course, again, we just talked about it a little bit with Brian, the iRacing contest for the graphic designer. We'll have details on that as well. So a lot of neat things happening, but let's get to your questions here. And Colorado Cup Series Racing writes in and says, who is the funniest driver you've ever talked to? This is the easiest question I have ever had. Clint Boyer is the class clown. And I know sometimes he doesn't come across that way, but Clint Boyer is just one of the funniest people in the world. You get Clint Boyer telling stories, and you got a bunch of people laughing, and he just has a great time with life. He's into the dirt track racing, so we share that passion. We get cutting up, yucking up. Sometimes we'll get to a dirt track and hang out, but that is just one of the funniest men on the planet, and the funniest driver I've ever talked to. Mr. NASCAR Review writes in and says, who do you think gets the most excited in Victory Lane? And when we look back at great victory lanes, I think about Darrell Waltrip winning the Daytona 500 and how excited he was. I'll tell you who does victory lane really, really good is Kyle Busch. Of course, he does it all the time, it seems like, but he generally really celebrates pretty hard in victory lane. And new winners, when they get there, you never know what you're going to get in new winners. Sometimes we'll get a real emotional downtime with a new winner, and sometimes you'll just get chaos. with a new winner. But there's a lot of guys. Victory Lane's one of the greatest places to be, and I love when we get new winners and new stories. Recently was able to do Victory Lane at Darlington, where we had Chase Elliott in the Nationwide Series winning the race. Not only did we get to talk with Chase on MRN, but we got to talk to his dad, Bill, as well, and that was a real special moment, so that one comes to mind as well. Racindale72 says, do you think that Kevin Harvick will win more than 5 races this season, and why? I looked at this almost mathematically, and my thoughts are yes. They've won twice already in the first 8 races this year, so if you do the math, that puts them over the 5-race win mark, and this is just a great combination right now that is just racing for wins. I think this new structure plays into a guy that can make his car go really fast, and certainly Kevin Harvick and Rodney Childers can do that. They can make that car just go around the racetrack quicker than a lot of other ones, and Harvick is one of the best late in a race. He never gives away a race at the end. He gets up front at the end. You might just as well cash the check for Harvick. So I like that combination from the beginning of the year with 2 races in the bank and racing for wins now until we get into the chase, and really once we get into the chase, I think it's possible that they'll get 5 or more wins this year. They're that good. Final question is Red Bull Cup 88. Who do you think has the best shot of winning the championship this year? I'm just staying where I've been at for the last few years. I'm going with Ric Flair, the old wrestler. No, not to win the championship, but Ric Flair, the old wrestler from right here in the Charlotte area, says to be the man, you've got to beat the man. I don't care what structure we use, what format we use. I will be awful surprised if we don't go to Ford Championship weekend and Jimmy Johnson is not in the hunt and Jimmy Johnson doesn't come away with the championship. Yeah, they're that good. And they know how to turn it on when it comes time to turn it on. Those chase races, it's going to be so critical to win those chase races. They've won more chase races than anybody else. They've won more chase races than most of the guys they'll be racing with combined. So that is a good team. They will have a test session for Ford 400 at Miami. I'll guarantee you they'll have a test session for that. So I'm telling you, I'm still going. It's a long way off and a lot's got to happen, but if I had to pick a champion right now, I still think it's got to go through Jimmy Johnson and that 48 team. So there you have it. Those are the questions from YouTube here on the post show. Again, reminder, Car a Day continues on. DavidReaganStore.com, and you iRacers, make sure you stay tuned for this contest. It's going to be great to see what you guys design as far as an opening for our Diecast Review Show. Remember, all of the great Diecast cars and collectibles and hats and t-shirts that we talk about, they're available at your local Diecast dealers or at PlanBSales.com. We love that you guys are getting involved with us here on YouTube. We have the comments below. Feel free to mention your comments here. Follow us on Twitter at PlanBSales, and we'll keep you informed on what we have. And please get some back and forth conversation going, because we love talking racing and love talking with you race fans out there, and we appreciate the business you do give us.